You say tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Every time you delay, you steal from yourself. The goals, the dreams, the version of you that could have been, it all slips away because you tell yourself, I have time. But do you? Imagine waking up a decade from now, looking in the mirror, and realizing nothing has changed. Not because life was unfair, not because you lacked opportunities, but because you waited. You hesitated. You let distractions dictate your days. This is the silent killer of potential. Procrastination, distractions, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius warned, you could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. Seneca reminded us, we are not given a short life, but we make it short. Every wasted moment is a step closer to regret. But you don't have to live that way. In this video, you'll learn how to break free, how to stop wasting time, eliminate distractions, and finally take control of your life using timeless Stoic principles. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one thing you've been putting off? Drop it in the comments below. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why time is your most valuable resource. You'll know exactly how to use it. Stay with me. This might just change everything. 1. Time is our most precious resource. The alarm clock blares. Another day begins. You roll out of bed, scroll through your phone, check the news, reply to a few messages. You tell yourself, I'll start my day soon. But before you know it, an hour is gone. Then the emails pile up. The meetings drag on. Lunch comes and goes. By the time evening rolls around, exhaustion sets in. You push your real goals aside. Again, you'll get to them tomorrow. Except tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. And then one day, you wake up and realize you've run out of time. It happens slowly, not in dramatic moments, but in the small, seemingly insignificant choices we make every single day. You see, most people don't lose time in grand ways. They don't wake up one day and decide to waste their lives. Instead, time slips through their fingers in distractions, hesitations, and empty routines. They assume there will always be more of it, but the Stoics knew the truth. Seneca warned, we are not given a short life, but we make it short. Time isn't stolen, it's given away. Every moment wasted isn't taken from you, you surrender it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could be good today, but instead, you choose tomorrow. That's the mistake most people make. They don't treat time as something sacred. They treat it as if it's infinite. Let me tell you about a man who made that mistake. He was 45, a successful entrepreneur, built his own company from the ground up, had the respect of his peers, the admiration of his employees. On paper, he had everything, but something was missing. He told himself he'd get to it later, that one day he'd have time to slow down, enjoy life, reconnect with his family, fix the things that were broken. One day. Then one morning his heart gave out. No warning, no second chance. Lying in that hospital bed hooked to machines, he realized the cruelest irony of all. He had spent his whole life chasing success, only to wake up and realize he had no time left to live it. Most people assume this won't happen to them. They tell themselves they have time, that they'll get serious later. But how much of your time have you already wasted? Think about the last week, the last month. How many hours did you spend scrolling, consuming, procrastinating, distracting yourself from what really matters? The truth is, your future isn't written in some distant tomorrow. It's written in what you do today. The Stoics understood this at the deepest level. They didn't just talk about time as a concept. They lived with urgency. Epictetus warned, how long will you wait before you demand the best of yourself? Because here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you from wasted time. If you don't take control of it now, you never will. So how do you reclaim your time? First, wake up to reality. Stop pretending you have more time than you do. You don't. That's not pessimism. That's clarity. And clarity is power. Second, eliminate the distractions that steal your focus. Every time you check your phone mindlessly, every time you say just one more episode, every time you put off your goals for another day, you are making a choice to waste time you will never get back. Third, stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It's a fleeting emotion. Discipline is what separates those who do from those who don't. The Stoics didn't wait to feel like doing something. They acted. Fourth, create urgency in your own life. Treat time like the rarest currency, because that's exactly what it is. One day, you will take your last breath. And when that moment comes, the only thing that will matter is how you spent the time you had. The question is, will you be proud of how you spent it, or will you wish you had woken up sooner? That choice is still yours, for now. 2. Eliminating distractions and wasted time. The world is designed to steal your focus. Every app, every notification, every algorithm is engineered to keep you hooked. They don't just want a few seconds of your time, they want hours, days, years. And they take it without you even realizing. Most people live in this constant state of distraction. Their phones buzz, they check, they scroll, time disappears, then they wonder why they feel stuck, why their goals remain untouched, why they never seem to have enough time. But time isn't the issue. Attention is. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, long before social media, before endless entertainment, before the modern world turned distraction into a business model. Epictetus said, "If you do not control your mind, someone else will." The difference between those who achieve something meaningful and those who don't isn't luck, talent, or intelligence. It's focus. A man named Chris learned this too late. At 30, he had dreams. He wanted to build a business, get in shape, change his life, but he always felt busy, too busy to start. Every time he tried, something pulled him away. A quick glance at his phone turned into an hour. A short break became an evening lost to mindless scrolling. He convinced himself he was being productive, answering emails, staying informed, keeping up with the world. But deep down, he knew the truth. He wasn't moving forward, he was standing still. Years passed, the same habits, the same cycle. Every day he told himself he'd start tomorrow, until one day he woke up at 40, realizing a decade had slipped through his fingers. No progress, no momentum, just wasted time. And the worst part? He couldn't get it back. That's the danger of distraction. It doesn't just steal your time, it rewires your mind. It kills your ability to focus deeply. It makes hard work feel impossible. It keeps you in a constant loop of shallow, meaningless activity. If you let distractions control you, you lose control of your life. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The world is noisy, it always has been. The difference is whether you let it control you or you take control. So, how to break free from distractions? First, be brutally honest about what's stealing your time. Not just the obvious distractions like social media or television. The small, hidden ones, checking emails obsessively, jumping between tasks, constantly responding to messages. These seem harmless, but over time, they kill your ability to focus. The Stoics were ruthless about guarding their attention. Seneca warned, if you don't set your own schedule, you'll be forced into someone else's. Second, set hard boundaries. If you don't control your time, someone else will. That means cutting out what doesn't serve you. That means saying no to things that waste your energy. That means turning off what pulls you away from your goals. The world will always try to distract you. It will always demand your attention. The question is, will you give it away? Chris never set boundaries. He thought he could manage it all. He thought he had more time. Now he looks back and wonders where it all went. But you still have a choice. The Stoics saw the mind as a weapon, one that must be trained, disciplined, and sharpened. Distractions are the enemy. And if you don't learn to control them, they will control you. Start small. Remove just one major distraction today. Schedule deep work. Set a specific time each day where nothing interrupts you. Practice mental discipline. Don't just react to every notification, every impulse. Choose where your focus goes. Most people won't do this. They'll hear it, agree with it, but change nothing. They'll keep scrolling, keep distracting themselves, keep losing time. But those who take this seriously, those who take back control of their focus, take back control of their lives. Distraction is the silent killer of success. If you don't fight it, it will win. So ask yourself, how much longer will you let it steal from you? 3. Regret is the result of inaction. Regret is a slow poison. It doesn't strike all at once. It creeps in over time, whispering about the things you should have done, the chances you let slip away. At first, it's just a thought. Then it becomes a weight, one you carry with you, heavier with each passing year. The worst part, it's entirely avoidable. People fear failure. They fear making the wrong choice. So they do nothing. They wait. They hesitate. They convince themselves that staying still is safer than taking a risk. But what they fail to see is that inaction carries a cost too. Regret is not about what you failed at. It's about what you never tried. Stoicism teaches that action, even imperfect action, is always better than hesitation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Yet so many people reach the end of their lives never having truly lived. They spent decades working jobs they hated, staying in relationships that drained them, avoiding the risks that could have led to something better. They traded temporary comfort for permanent disappointment. It happens so gradually that they don't notice it at first. The years blur together. They tell themselves there's still time, that they'll start tomorrow, until one day they look back and see nothing but missed opportunities. That moment is devastating. It happened to a man named David. At 22, he had dreams of building something great. He wanted to start his own business, travel the world, push himself beyond the ordinary. But fear held him back. Fear of what people would think. Fear of losing money. Fear of failing. So he played it safe. He took a stable job, told himself he'd pursue his passions later. 5 years passed, then 10. Life got busier. Responsibilities piled up. The business idea stayed in the back of his mind, but it never became real. At 45, David had everything he thought he wanted. A house, a steady income, a predictable life. But something gnawed at him. That voice inside him, the one he had ignored for decades, reminded him of what he had lost. Not money, not status. Time. One night, after a long day at work, he sat down at his desk and opened an old notebook. Inside were pages of ideas, plans he had made years ago, dreams he had abandoned. He ran his fingers over the ink, remembering the younger version of himself, the one who believed he could do more. And it hit him. He would never get that time back. All the years he had spent waiting, hesitating, playing it safe, they were gone. That realization broke him. He tried to convince himself it wasn't too late, that he could start now. But deep down, he knew that some doors had closed forever. Not because he lacked ability, but because he had waited too long. Regret is merciless. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about excuses. It only reminds you of the time you wasted. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that action was the only cure, that waiting for the perfect moment is the greatest lie people tell themselves. Seneca wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." He didn't mean that time would slow down. He meant that those who take action, who seize every day instead of postponing their dreams, experience life fully. Most people don't live that way. They drift, they wait for the right time, but the right time never comes. There is only now. The solution is simple, but not easy. First, stop lying to yourself. Stop saying you'll start when things settle down. They won't. There will always be distractions, responsibilities, and reasons to wait. If something is important, make time for it. Now. Second, take small steps. You don't need to have everything figured out. Just start. Action leads to momentum. Momentum leads to progress. Waiting leads to nothing. Third, accept that failure is part of the process. The fear of failure keeps people stuck. But failure is not the enemy. Regret is. The Stoics embraced failure because they understood that every mistake is a lesson, every setback an opportunity to grow. David didn't realize this until it was too late. But you still have time. Not endless time, but time enough to act. If you don't, you already know how the story ends. The years will keep slipping by. The weight of what you didn't do will grow heavier. One day, you'll wake up and wonder how it all went by so fast. That moment is coming. But right now, you still have a choice. Act now or regret later. It's up to you. 4. The illusion of infinite tomorrows. Most people live as if time is limitless. They assume there will always be more of it, more days to pursue their dreams, more chances to fix what's broken, more opportunities to finally become the person they always wanted to be. That assumption is a lie. The truth? Tomorrow is never guaranteed. The time you think you have is an illusion. Every day, people wake up believing they have more time. Then life interrupts, a setback, a crisis, a sudden loss. And just like that, the future they counted on disappears. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He reminded himself constantly, you could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. He knew that procrastination is the silent killer of potential. that waiting for a better time is the fastest way to ensure it never comes. Look around. How many people do you know who have been saying for years that they'll start soon? The diet they'll begin next Monday. The business they'll launch when the timing is right. The book they'll write when life settles down. But life never settles down. Conditions never become perfect, and the years keep slipping away. The Stoics saw this pattern clearly. They understood that the only real moment you have is now. The past is unchangeable. The future is uncertain. The present is all that exists. Yet people waste it waiting. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready, but readiness is a myth. The greatest achievers in history didn't wait for the perfect moment. They acted despite uncertainty. They moved forward, even when the path wasn't clear. Seneca warned against this trap. He wrote, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." He wasn't speaking in theory. He was stating a brutal fact. Every second spent waiting is a second lost forever. So why do people keep falling into this illusion? Why do they tell themselves there's always more time? Because admitting the truth is uncomfortable. It forces them to confront the reality that every delay comes with a cost, that the future they assume is waiting for them might not exist at all, and that thought terrifies them. So they distract themselves. They fill their days with noise, social media, news, entertainment. They convince themselves they're too busy to start, that they need just a little more time before they take action. But deep down, they know the truth. They are stalling. They are choosing comfort over progress. The Stoics had a solution for this. They trained themselves to see time as the most valuable currency. Every day, they reminded themselves that they were dying. Not someday in the distant future, but now. Epictetus said it clearly, "You are not in control of how long you will live. Therefore, stop acting as if you have endless time." This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create urgency. The problem is not that people are incapable of change. It's that they assume change can wait, that they will get to it eventually. But eventually never comes. The Stoic approach is different. They take action immediately, not because they feel like it, not because conditions are ideal, but because they know that waiting is the most dangerous choice of all. If you wait, you gamble with your future. You assume you will have the time to fix your mistakes, to chase your ambitions, to become the person you were meant to be. But what if you don't? What if the time you think you have is already running out? Most people don't think this way until it's too late. They reach a certain age, look back, and wonder where all their years went. The regret is unbearable, not for what they did, but for what they never started. And by then, the window has closed. Don't let that be your story. The only way to escape this trap is to act now. Stop waiting for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. Stop believing you'll feel ready. You won't. The only way to change your life is to stop postponing it. Start today. Before today turns into yesterday, before your time is up. 5. There is no perfect moment to start. You tell yourself you'll begin when the time is right, when things settle down, when you feel ready. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and before you know it, years have passed. The idea of the perfect moment is nothing but an illusion. It tricks you into waiting, into delaying, into convincing yourself that tomorrow will be easier than today. But deep down, you know that's not true. Marcus Aurelius saw through this lie. He wrote, "You could be good today, but instead, you choose tomorrow." People wait because they want certainty. They want to know they won't fail. They want to be 100% prepared before they take action. But that's not how life works. The Stoics understood that certainty is an illusion, that waiting for everything to align perfectly is just another way of avoiding discomfort. You think you're buying time, but what you're really doing is losing it. Look back at the last 5 years of your life. How many things did you plan to do but never start? How many moments did you tell yourself not now, but soon, only to watch that moment disappear? The problem isn't that you need more time. The problem is that you're not using the time you already have. Think about this. How often have you seen someone with less talent, less experience, and fewer resources succeed while you're still waiting for the right time? It happens all the time, not because they were better, but because they started. Most people believe they need to feel ready before they take action. But readiness is a myth. The truth is, you get ready by doing. Seneca warned, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." You hesitate because your mind creates fear that isn't real. You imagine failure before it even happens. You convince yourself that you need more preparation when, in reality, the only thing you need is to begin. Action creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence leads to success. But hesitation? Hesitation leads to regret. Imagine two men standing at the edge of a cold ocean. One jumps in immediately, feeling the shock of the water, but within minutes he's swimming. The other stands there waiting, telling himself he'll go in soon, but he never does. That's what most people do with their lives. They stand at the edge, making plans, waiting for the fear to go away. But the fear doesn't leave until you take action. Look at the world around you. How many people live their lives in hesitation? The job they never applied for, the conversation they never had, the business they never started, not because they weren't capable, but because they waited too long. And what happens when you wait? Opportunities disappear. The promotion goes to someone else. The relationship fades. The chance to build something meaningful slips through your fingers. People don't regret the things they tried and failed at. They regret the things they never had the courage to begin. The Stoics didn't believe in waiting. They believed in acting despite uncertainty. Epictetus said, "How long will you wait before you demand the best of yourself?" There will always be reasons to delay. Always be obstacles. Always be moments where it feels easier to wait. But the conditions will never be perfect. You will never feel completely ready. So start anyway. Begin before you're comfortable. Begin before you feel like you have all the answers, because clarity comes through action, not waiting. No one ever became great by standing still. They moved forward, even when it was uncomfortable. Look at your own life right now. What have you been putting off? What goal? What ambition? What change have you been telling yourself you'll start someday? Because someday is a lie. Someday is just another way of saying never. If you wait, you'll wake up a decade from now wondering where the time went. And the truth will hit you. You never ran out of time, you just never used it. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Start today. 6. Failure is a teacher, not an enemy. Failure has a way of breaking people. Not because it's painful, but because they don't know how to handle it. Most people see failure as an ending, as proof that they weren't good enough, that they should have never tried. They take it personally. They let it define them. But failure is not an ending. It's a mirror. It reflects back the truth, what you lacked, what you overlooked, what you must improve. The Stoics understood this. They didn't fear failure, they expected it. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." He knew that every setback was an opportunity, not to complain, not to quit, but to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. But here's the problem. Most people don't think this way. They don't treat failure as a stepping stone. They treat it as a wall. They fail once and assume that's it. They convince themselves they're not talented, not smart enough, not lucky enough. So they stop trying. And in doing so, they guarantee one thing: they never improve. That's how people get stuck. Not because they lack potential, but because they refuse to face failure head on. Jack was one of those people. He had always been afraid of looking foolish. He avoided risks, avoided challenges, avoided anything that might expose his weaknesses. He wanted certainty. He wanted to be good at something before he even started. But that's not how life works. One day, he took a leap. He started his own business. He planned everything. He prepared for months, but the moment he launched, it collapsed. Within a year, it failed. He lost money. He felt humiliated. He told himself he wasn't meant for this, that he wasn't cut out to be successful. So he quit. Years passed. The regret never left. Not because he had failed, but because he had never tried again. What he didn't understand back then was that failure was the process. That success isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about how you respond to them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Jack had focused on the wrong thing. He saw failure as an event outside of his control, rather than something he could learn from. He thought failure was the enemy. But failure is neutral. It doesn't care about your emotions. It doesn't care about your self-doubt. It only presents you with a choice. Do you quit or do you improve? The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's resilience. The ability to take failure and turn it into fuel. To see setbacks as data, not as judgments of worth. The Stoics lived by this mindset. They embraced discomfort because they knew that growth demands it. Epictetus put it bluntly, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Because the only way to get better at anything, whether it's your career, relationships, or personal discipline, is to fail and adjust. No one becomes great by getting everything right the first time. No one achieves mastery without struggling. The reason most people never reach their potential is simple. They give up too soon. They experience one failure, maybe two, and decide they're not capable. They don't realize that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Imagine if every great mind had stopped after their first setback. If every innovator, every leader, every artist had given up the moment things got difficult, the world would be empty, lifeless, without progress. That's why the Stoics trained themselves to detach from the outcome. They focused only on what they could control, their actions, their mindset, their effort, not whether they succeeded immediately. That's how they kept going when others quit. Jack eventually learned this. Years after his first failure, he tried again. This time, he understood that failure wasn't something to be feared. It was his greatest teacher. He studied what went wrong, he made changes, he stayed in the fight, and this time, he built something that lasted. Not because it was easier, not because he was luckier, but because he didn't quit. Failure will happen. It will humble you. It will expose your weaknesses. But it is not your enemy. Your only enemy is giving up before you've learned what failure was trying to teach you. 7. The weight of regret and ruthless prioritization. Regret is heavier than failure. It lingers, it haunts, and it never truly leaves. Most people fear making the wrong decision, so they hesitate. They analyze, overthink, and wait for certainty before they act. But what they fail to realize is that not making a decision is a decision, and it has consequences. Every day spent postponing what truly matters is another brick added to the weight of regret. Time moves forward whether you act or not. The days turn into weeks, the weeks into years. Before you know it, you're standing in the same place, looking back, wondering where all that time went. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste a lot of it." Life doesn't feel short until you realize how much of it you've thrown away. Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they prioritize the wrong things. They trade long-term fulfillment for short-term comfort. They confuse being busy with being productive. Activity is not the same as progress. A man who spends hours every day scrolling through social media, arguing online, consuming mindless entertainment, may feel exhausted by the end of the day. But he hasn't moved an inch toward the life he actually wants. A man who fills his schedule with meaningless obligations, tasks that don't serve his real purpose, and distractions disguised as responsibilities may feel like he's being responsible. But in reality, he's avoiding the hard work of prioritization. The truth is, not everything deserves your time. The Stoics approached life with ruthless clarity. They filtered out what was unnecessary. They focused only on what was within their control, what truly mattered. Everything else? Eliminated. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When you recognize how little time you actually have, you stop wasting it. So how do you cut through the noise? How do you ensure that you don't spend your life on things that don't matter? The answer is ruthless prioritization. You must be willing to say no to obligations that don't serve your purpose, to distractions that steal your attention, to relationships that drain you rather than strengthen you. You must be willing to audit your life, to take a hard, honest look at where your time is going, to ask yourself, is this moving me forward, or is it keeping me stagnant? Most people never do this. They drift through life, reacting instead of directing. They follow routines, obligations, and expectations set by others, without questioning if those things actually serve them. They tell themselves they'll prioritize the important things later, when life slows down, when they have more time. But they never do. Life doesn't slow down. The demands don't decrease. And without a conscious effort to take control, regret becomes inevitable. There is no excuse for wasting time on things that don't matter, not when you have a choice. not when you have control. The cost of not prioritizing? A life filled with regrets. And once that time is gone, you don't get it back. 8. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and doing. Most people know what they need to do. They know they should exercise. They know they should save money. They know they should wake up earlier, work harder, read more, complain less. But knowing means nothing without doing. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. A plan without execution is just a fantasy. This is why discipline matters. It is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. It is the force that separates those who achieve from those who only dream. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not rely on motivation because motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. You cannot build a strong life on something so weak. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Most people wait forever. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. But tomorrow is a lie. It's just another excuse to stay the same. Discipline doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't care about feelings. It demands action. It forces growth. It is easy to be disciplined when things are going well, when life is smooth, when energy is high, when circumstances are in your favor. But true discipline is tested in difficulty. Can you still show up when you're tired, when you're uninspired, when everything in you wants to quit? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, remind yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. He understood that discipline is not about what you feel like doing. It is about what must be done. A man without discipline is a slave to his emotions. He only works when he feels motivated. He only pushes himself when life is easy. He waits to feel inspired before he acts. But life does not reward those who wait. Life rewards those who do. Discipline is uncomfortable. It is waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It is putting in extra effort when no one is watching. It is saying no to distractions, to temptations, to weakness. It is choosing long-term success over short-term pleasure. A disciplined man doesn't need motivation. He doesn't need permission. He moves forward, even when every part of him wants to stop. This is why discipline leads to freedom. The man who masters himself is not controlled by his urges. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't indulge in meaningless distractions. He directs his energy with precision, cutting away everything that does not serve his purpose. The Stoics knew that self-mastery is the highest form of power. Not power over others, but power over oneself. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Most people are prisoners of their own impulses. They procrastinate, they indulge, they avoid discomfort. But discomfort is where real growth happens. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build. Like a muscle, it grows stronger the more you use it. Start small. Commit to one thing. Wake up when you say you will. Do the work you promised yourself you would do. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Every act of discipline strengthens the mind. Every moment of resistance makes you sharper, stronger, better. And over time, discipline becomes who you are. Not something you force, but something natural. The weak man waits for motivation. The strong man builds habits that make motivation irrelevant. The weak man avoids discomfort. The strong man seeks it out, because he knows that growth and comfort cannot coexist. Discipline is the price of freedom. The only question is, are you willing to pay it? 9. Mastering time through letting go. Most people waste their lives fighting battles they cannot win. They hold on to the past. They obsess over what could have been, what should have happened, and what they wish they could change. But the past is untouchable. No amount of regret, no amount of thinking, no amount of wishing will alter what has already occurred. And yet, people waste years replaying old conversations, holding on to resentment, blaming themselves or others for things that no longer exist. The Stoics had no patience for this kind of thinking. Epictetus said it bluntly, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." He understood that the past is not a weight we must carry. It is a lesson, nothing more. But letting go is difficult. People tie their identities to their past mistakes, their old wounds, their missed opportunities. They tell themselves that if only things had been different, they would be happier, more successful, more at peace. This is a lie. Happiness is not found in the past, neither is peace. The only place you will ever find them is right here, right now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation of Stoicism. Control what you can. Let go of everything else. Because the more time you spend clinging to what cannot be changed, the more of your life you waste. Regret is a prison. It chains you to a version of yourself that no longer exists. It keeps you locked in a world of what-ifs and if-onlys. But the past does not exist. Only the present does. Letting go is not weakness. It is strength. It is the ability to say, yes, I have made mistakes. Yes, I have lost things. Yes, life has been unfair at times, but I refuse to let any of it define me. The Stoics didn't just preach this philosophy. They lived it. They understood that life is unpredictable, that setbacks, failures, and losses are inevitable. But they also knew that none of it could control them unless they allowed it to. Seneca wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." This was not pessimism. It was liberation. It was an acknowledgement that suffering is a part of existence. That clinging to pain, to regret, to the things we cannot change, does not heal us. It only deepens the wound. People assume that letting go means forgetting, that it means not caring. But it is the opposite. Letting go means accepting reality as it is, without resistance. It means choosing to focus on what can be changed, rather than what cannot. It means understanding that the only way to move forward is to stop looking backward. Every moment spent dwelling on the past is a moment stolen from the present. Every thought wasted on what was is a thought that could have been used to shape what will be. Time does not wait. It does not slow down for those who live in regret. It moves forward always. The question is, are you moving with it? Time is slipping away. Every day, every hour, every second that passes is a moment you will never get back. The Stoics understood this. They lived by a simple truth. What's done is done. What's ahead is unknown. But right now, this moment is yours. You've learned the principles, the power of discipline, the cost of hesitation, the illusion of infinite tomorrows, the burden of regret, the necessity of letting go. But knowledge means nothing without action. The greatest mistake people make is waiting. Waiting for the right time, waiting for motivation, waiting for life to give them permission to start. You don't need permission, you need to act. Starting today, make the commitment to master your time. Eliminate distractions, stop making excuses, prioritize what truly matters, and above all, take control of your own life. Because if you don't, someone else will. The Stoics knew that a life well lived is not about what you say you'll do. It's about what you actually do. So ask yourself, what is one thing you've been postponing? One decision you've been avoiding? One change you know you need to make? Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start now. And if this message resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell your story, your struggles, your victories. Someone out there might need to hear it. Time does not wait, and neither should you.